The city of gold shimmered beneath the morning sun, but for little Maya, life had always been painted in shades of gray. At just 10 years old, she already knew hunger. She knew what it felt like to sleep on a thin mat in a leaking room. And she knew that dreams were a luxury meant for others, not for her. Every morning she walked several miles to a crowded public school, her faded backpack hanging by a single strap, her shoes worn thin but her spirit quietly strong. Yet that one day, one unexpected. Ordinary morning, fate decided to take a turn so powerful, so unbelievable, that her life would never be the same again. If you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life, then pause for a moment. Like this video, comment below your thoughts, share it with someone who still believes in goodness, and subscribe to our channel for more heart-touching, real stories of hope and humanity. Maya's journey began that morning as she walked past the Grand Central Plaza, a place she rarely visited. Her eyes caught something lying near the steps of a golden statue, a brown leather wallet, thick and elegant, unlike anything she had ever seen. She picked it up hesitantly, her heart pounding. Inside were crisp dollar bills, more money than her entire family had seen in years, and a shiny black card with an embossed name, Alexander Grayson. For a fleeting moment, temptation whispered to her. With that money, she could buy food for her little brother, pay her school fees, maybe even help her mother repair their roof. But then she looked at the name again and her conscience spoke louder than her hunger. "It's not mine," she whispered to herself, clutching the wallet tightly. That single decision, to do what was right even when life gave her every reason not to, became the spark that lit her destiny. Maya spent the rest of that day searching. She asked vendors, guards, and drivers if they knew who Alexander Grayson was. Most just shrugged until one fruit seller widened his eyes and said, "You mean Mr. Grayson? The billionaire? The man who owns half the city?" Maya froze. Her fingers tightened around the wallet. She had heard that name on the radio, a man of power, wealth, and influence, someone who lived in palaces, someone whose world was galaxies away from hers. But fear didn't stop her. She asked for directions and set out toward the address scribbled on the business card inside. The mansion stood like something out of a dream. Massive golden gates, fountains taller than her school, and walls shining with marble and glass. When she timidly approached the security guard and explained what she had found, he laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. But when she held up the wallet, his smile faded. Within minutes, she was inside, standing on a red carpet in a hall so grand it took her breath away. Alexander Grayson, a silver-haired man in his 50s, entered the room. His suit alone looked like it cost more than her entire neighborhood, but it was the surprise in his eyes that caught her attention. When Maya nervously stepped forward and handed him the wallet, saying she found it near the plaza, he seemed utterly taken aback. He opened it, checked its contents, and then looked at her again with something close to disbelief. "Everything's here," he murmured softly. "You didn't take anything?" Maya shook her head. "It wasn't mine, sir." He smiled faintly, then asked where she lived, how she got there, and why she returned it. As she answered with shy honesty, his eyes softened. He saw not just a child, but a reflection of the person he once was, a poor boy who had once sold newspapers on the same streets. He remembered the hunger, the struggle, and how one stranger's kindness long ago had changed his fate. And now, destiny had brought him a chance to return that miracle. When Maya turned to leave, thinking her part was done, Mr. Grayson called her back. "Wait," he said. "I want to thank you." He opened his wallet again, took out several bills, and extended them toward her. But Maya shook her head. "I didn't do it for money," she said simply. For a man who had spent decades surrounded by deals, greed, and people chasing wealth, her words pierced his heart like light through darkness. He nodded, silent, but his mind was already spinning with an idea. That evening, after she left, Alexander Grayson couldn't stop thinking about her. The honesty in her eyes, the innocence that felt so rare. He called his assistant, asked them to find out everything about Maya, her school, her family, their living conditions. When the report came, it broke him. Her mother worked as a cleaner in a small cafe. Her father had died years ago in a construction accident. They lived in a broken one-room house, surviving day to day. Yet, even in that world of struggle, the girl had chosen integrity over survival. 2 days later, Maya returned from school to find a black car parked outside her house. Men in suits stood beside it, and her mother looked worried. Then from the car stepped Alexander Grayson himself. Maya's eyes widened. "Sir?" she whispered, clutching her backpack. He smiled warmly and gestured for her to come closer. "I wanted to see where an angel lives," he said softly. He sat with her mother, who was nervous and overwhelmed, and explained how her daughter's act had touched his heart. He said he didn't believe in coincidences anymore, only purpose. Then, with quiet determination, he announced something that left them speechless. He had decided to sponsor Maya's education completely from that day until she graduated from university, no matter how far she wanted to go. But he didn't stop there. He also offered her mother a stable job within his company, one that paid enough to lift them out of poverty. Tears rolled down her mother's face as she tried to thank him, but he simply smiled and said, "Don't thank me. Thank your daughter. She reminded me that honesty still exists in this world." From that day forward, Maya's world transformed. She started attending one of the city's top schools, wearing a crisp new uniform and carrying books that once seemed impossible to own. At first, she felt out of place among the rich kids, but her humility, kindness, and brilliance quickly earned her respect. Mr. Grayson often visited, encouraging her, guiding her, and telling her stories about his own struggles. Slowly, a bond grew between them. Not one of wealth and charity, but of shared humanity. He became like the grandfather she never had, and she became the granddaughter he never knew he needed. Years passed. Maya worked harder than anyone else, excelling in her studies, and eventually earning a scholarship to study abroad. Mr. Grayson was there at every milestone, her first award, her first flight, her graduation ceremony. He often told his business partners that Maya was his greatest investment, not because she brought him profit, but because she restored his faith in people. But life, as always, has its trials. During her college years, Mr. Grayson fell ill. The once powerful billionaire grew weaker, and his vast empire started to fade into the background as his world narrowed to hospital walls. Yet, even from afar, Maya wrote him letters every week. Letters filled with gratitude, hope, and dreams of making a difference, just as he had done for her. She promised him that one day she would return to repay the kindness he had shown. When he finally passed away, the news hit Maya harder than she could bear. But at his funeral, surrounded by hundreds of powerful people, she realized something profound. Among all his wealth and success, it wasn't his money that people spoke of, it was his heart. And in his will, he had left something that took her breath away, a foundation in her name, the Maya Grayson Trust, dedicated to helping underprivileged children get an education. He had turned her single act of honesty into a movement of kindness that would change thousands of lives. Years later, Maya stood on a stage speaking before a crowd of young students, children who were just like she once was. She told them about the day she found a wallet, about the fear, the temptation, and the choice she made. She said, "Sometimes, the smallest right decision in the hardest moment can rewrite your entire destiny." The audience rose to their feet, applauding with tears in their eyes. If this story touched your heart, please don't scroll away without sharing it. Like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to keep spreading light, hope, and the belief that kindness still wins in the end. And before you go, comment below one word that defines what kindness means to you, because one small act of honesty changed Maya's life forever. And maybe, just maybe, it could change yours too.